All right, well, I guess an objection that some people might have who are strongly rooted in science, and certainly the scientific method has some benefits to do controlled trials and such. I guess one of their primary criticisms would be that there's no double-blind, placebo-controlled trials of this process or this testing. And I'm wondering if you could comment on that, because many people are going to be critical of that element, and so there's definitely factors that contribute to that. So I'd like you to respond.
Yeah, well, the largest retrospective study published on muscle testing was a paper published in a very good medical journal in 2008, co-authored by George Goodhart, but there were several other authors that reviewed all the papers, all the decisive papers written on muscle testing. And the conclusion was that even in applied kinesiology, with all my precaution that I have what applied kinesiology is concerned, but the evaluation showed that there is a worldwide agreement that applied kinesiology is a reproducible and reliable method. So this is like a review of all the decisive papers that have been written, and it comes to the conclusion that applied kinesiology is repeatable, reproducible science. And now I will step this one step up. When we're dealing in the world of energy, for example, the EKG, when we test a heart rhythm, is supposed to be an objective test. Mm-hmm. However, we could show that the equipment alone, the EKG machine is an electronic piece of equipment, and if we take an electrosensitive patient who's careful with their life, they're switching off the fuses at night at home, they're sleeping under certain protection, they avoid being close to walking under power lines and so forth. They have a good, strong life and with no problems. And the moment they get an EKG taken and they're wired up to this electric box, they have extra systoles, they have arrhythmias, they have all sorts of problems that only show up because of the closeness of the equipment to them. And then I have several of these patients. They ended up being treated for years with antiarrhythmic drugs, which have severe side effects, beta blockers, which have severe side effects, and all sorts of things, just because the testing situation was inducing a problem in them that then was treated as if it was real. And so what I'm trying to say, when in the energetic testing the practitioner induces a problem in the patient, this is a problem throughout medicine. It's not a problem just in the muscle testing. It has to do when you do an EEG, EKG, electromyogram, nerve conduction studies. The practitioner who's close to the patient can induce changes that then are falsely considered to be the patient's problem, and then treated with serious medications, even though they're falsely induced in the patient. So this problem doesn't just exist in this form of testing, but in many other areas of medicine, including lab work. We've had, or another example is the blood pressure. We know of patients when they monitor the blood pressure themselves, it's completely normal, but every time they go to a physician and have it measured there, the blood pressure goes high because they had a childhood traumatic experience to do with the doctor, and in the moment in the doctor's office, they're in a reactive situation, blood pressure goes up, they're put for years on blood pressure medication, suffer because during the day they're dizzy, they can't concentrate. Then they come to me and I look through that and take them off the blood pressure medication, have them monitor their blood pressure at home. It's completely normal and all the symptoms disappear. Yeah. So we have this situation of inducing problems in the patient and then treating them throughout medicine. So it's not at all unique to muscle testing. But we do have enough literature, both in Omura's journal, that's the International Journal of Acupuncture and Electrotherapeutics Research, a lot of double-blinded studies verifying the validity and reliability of muscle testing. And we do have a large number of papers now written on applied kinesiology, also verifying that. I have not attempted to do any major studies on my own system because I'm aware of the limits of what can be proven because of the effect that the practitioner and the testing situation has on the client. And to subtract that from the client is a dynamic process that has to evolve over several sessions until we get to the core of the client's problem and minimize the induction of false phenomena. So let me say it in another way. The double-blind study is a philosophical model that was developed to study the effect of one particular biochemical compound as the only variable that's introduced in a patient's system. The double-blind study is not suitable to prove or disprove energetic phenomena or to be applied in areas of physics, which the area of muscle testing belongs to. And interesting enough, the only form of study that belongs here is the outcome study. And with that, we do fantastic. With the ART-based treatments, we have fantastic outcome of treatment. Well, I think I like to leave that here.
Yeah, it brings up a good point too, because I think any serious practitioner who honestly evaluates this can recognize pretty rapidly that the model that everyone in conventional medicine is trained in is a chemical-based model for the most part. But really, as you alluded to, we're moving towards this physics model, and that is a whole different paradigm. And really, in getting to quantum physics, and one of the primary foundational principles is that if the moment you observe something, you're actually going to change the outcome.
Exactly.
So it becomes almost impossible to test something like that because it's just not physically, it just doesn't work. And I'm wondering if you can comment a little bit on the transition that you see or is occurring or projections as to when it might occur is from this shift from a focus on chemistry to one more based on physics and energetics. And do you think it might occur in our lifetime where there's a significant, perhaps even the majority of people or clinicians tend to adopt this in their clinical model?
Let me give you some examples of what is out there already. So one of the professors here at the University in Washington is Professor Henry Lai, who developed a treatment for malaria that is based to expose the patient to a pulsating magnetic field that pulsates with a certain frequency and very successfully eliminates malaria from the patient with very few sessions. That's a pure application of quantum physics, or let's call it physics, to the body. And Lai patented the frequency, and as a result of that, I'm personally familiar with insiders in the pharmaceutical industry. As we're speaking, the pharmaceutical industry is busy patenting frequencies for the treatment of various infections, toxins, and medical conditions. So the pharmaceutical industry is very aware that there is this change coming. Let me give you another example of an instrument of quantum physics that's now increasingly common in Europe. It's invented by a Russian Nobel Prize laureate, Sahakian. It's an instrument the patient lies on a table without clothes, a white sheet over him in a completely dark room. He holds 2 electrodes in a hand that put about 70,000 volts of an electric charge through the patient. No amperage, just the voltage, so there's no sensation with that. And the scanner is held about 2 feet away from the body, run over the body. And wherever the body has any illness or any dysfunction or infection or toxin,